Purgatorio, Canto 9. If you need me to send you a web link, I can do that
No, I've got it on on a Kindle.
on a Kindle. Okay. All right. So for those of you out in YouTube land, we are continuing with our reading of Dante. We are at Purgatorio Canto 9. And the way we are going to proceed is that Dee Dee is going to give us the John Ciardi or Chiardi synopsis of the whole canto. And then we are going to read it in its entirety in English. And then we will go back and individual readers will read small pieces of it, and we will stop along the way to discuss and clarify. So, Dee
Okay.
Dee, take it away.
Giardi's introduction is subtitled The Angel Guardian. Dawn is approaching. Dante has a dream of a golden eagle that descends from the height of heaven and carries him up to the sphere of fire. He wakes to find he has been transported in his sleep, that it was Lucia who bore him, laying him down beside an enormous wall through an opening in which he and Virgil may approach the gate of purgatory. Having explained these matters, Virgil leads Dante to the gate and its angel guardian. The angel is seated on the topmost of the three steps that symbolize the three parts of a perfect act of confession. Dante prostrates, himself at the foot of the angel, at the feet of the angel, who cuts 7 P's on Dante's forehead with the point of a blazing sword. He then allows the poets to enter. As the gates open with a sound of thunder, the mountain resounds with a great hymn of praise. So I
Okay.
guess now that we're starting, there's a great hymn of praise
Well, let me
in there
add a few
surround.
comments here, if I may. So after 8 earlier cantos, we have finally made it to the actual entrance to Purgatorio. The first 8 cantos are what's called an ante-purgatorio, before purgatory. The other thing is that these P's, which are going to be carved in Dante's forehead or on the forehead of the various souls, stand for the Italian word, I believe it's peccato. Is that right, Decio? Peccato?
Peccato, yeah, peccato.
Yeah, which means sin. And the idea is that you enter purgatory with the 7 sins, and as you go through it, these P's will be erased until you're finally at the end of purgatory and you have no more piccatos on your forehead. Okay.
The Latin phrase comes back to me from what I remember of the Mass. There was a phrase called "Qui tollis peccata mundi."
From the Mass.
Translation of that
Mass.
is?
Yeah, I don't remember what it something about sins though.
Did you just translate that? All I knew was piccato and Monday, but what was the first Monday? What was the first word?
John or Des or somebody could translate. John, what is "Qui tollis peccata mundi"? Oh, would that be true? That's
takes
Latin Mass.
who removes
What's the first word?
Qui tollis.
who removes the sins of the world.
Yeah.
What
God
removes?
sins of the world.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
All
Okay.
right.
So that all being said, I will ask you, John, to begin. We're gonna read all the English through.
Right. Okay.
So you
I'll
would be the
begin.
first reader on that.
All right. The concubine of old Tithonus now gleamed white upon the eastern balcony, forth from the arms of her sweet paramour. With gems her forehead all reluctant was, set in the shape of that cold animal which with its tail doth smite amain the nations. And of the steps with which she mounts, the night had taken two in that place where we were, and now the third was bending down its wings. When I, who something had of Adam in me, vanquished by sleep upon the grass reclined, there were all five of us already sat. Just at the hour when her sad lay begins, the little swallow, near unto the morning, perchance in memory of her former woes, and when the mind of man, a wanderer more from the flesh and less by thought imprisoned, almost prophetic in its visions is. In dreams it seemed to me I saw suspended an eagle in the sky, with plumes of gold, with wings wide open, and intent to stoop. And this, it seemed to me, was where had been by Ganymede his kith and kin abandoned, when to the high consistory he was rapt. Then I passed this to Anne Doyle.
Hey, sorry, I thought you were reading in Italian. That's why I put you all down at the end of the list to give you a breathing space, the Italian readers.
Oh, you've talked. Oh, I have.
No, you're perfectly fine, John. I was
Oh,
just explaining to Duncan why he was way down with Desio and
oh,
the other John.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. I thought within myself, perchance he strikes, from habit only here and from elsewhere, disdains to bear up any in his feet. Then, wheeling somewhere more, it seemed to me, terrible as the lightning he descended, and snatched me upward even to the fire. Therein it seemed that he and I were burning, and the imagined fire did scorch me so, that of necessity my sleep was broken. Not otherwise Achilles started up, around him turning his awakened eyes, and knowing not the place in which he was. Next reader, please.
So too I shook myself as from my face sleep fled, and deathly pale I then became, turning, as terrified as we do, to ice. Beside me there is only my great strength. The sun by now was more than 2 hours high. My eyes were turned back down towards the sea. My lord said, "Have no fear, be confident, for we have reached a good point in our way. Do not hold back, but give your strengths free rein. You've now arrived where purgatory begins. See over there the wall encircling it. See there the portal where the wall is breached. Just now at dawn, which comes before the new day, when still our soul was sleeping deep within, couched on the flowers that ornament that place, a lady came. She said, I am Lucia. Let me take up the man who's sleeping there, so I can make his journey easier. Desio?
Okay. Sordello and the other noble shapes remain. She looked thee, and as they grow bright, upward she came, and upon her footsteps. She laid thee here, and first he beauteous eyes, that open entrance pointed out to me. Then she and sleep together went away. In guise of one whose doubts are reassured, and who to confidence his fear doth change after the truth has been discovered to him. So did I change, and when without disquit, my leader saw me, and along the cliff he moved, and I behind him toward this height. Behind. Reader, thou seest well how I exalt my theme, and therefore, if with greater art I fortify it, marvel not dread. Nearer approached we, and were in such place that there were first appeared to me a rift, like to a crevice that disperses a wall. Next, please.
I saw a great gate fixed in place above 3 steps, each its own color, and a guard who did not say a word and did not move. Slow, bit by bit, raising my lids with care, I made him out, seated on the top step, his face more radiant than my eyes could bear. He held a drawn sword, and the eye of day beat such a fire back from it that each time I tried to look, I had to look away. I heard him call, "What is your business here? Answer from where you stand. Where is your guide? Take care you do not find your coming, dear." A little while ago, my teacher said, "A heavenly lady well versed in these matters told us, go there. That is the gate ahead." Next.
And may she speed your footsteps in all good, again began the courteous janitor. Come forward then unto these stairs of ours. Thither did we approach, and the first stair was marble white, so polished and so smooth. I mirrored myself therein as I appear. The second, tinct of deeper hue than purse, was of a calcined and uneven stone, cracked all asunder lengthwise and across. The third, that uppermost rests massively, porphyry seemed to me as flaming red, as blood that from a vein is spirting forth. Both of his feet was holding upon this the angel of God, upon the threshold seated, which seemed to me a stone of diamond. Next, please.
Along the 3 stairs upward with good will did my conductor draw me, saying, "Ask humbly that he the fastening may undo." Devoutly at the holy feet I cast myself, for mercy's sake besought that he would open. But first upon my breast 3 times I smote. 7 P's upon my forehead he described with the sword's point, and said, "Take heed that thou wash these wounds when thou shalt be within." He said, "Ashes or earth that dry is excavated of the same color were with his attire. And from beneath it he drew forth 2 keys. One was of gold and the other was of silver. First with the white and after with the yellow plied he the door, so that I was content. Whoever faileth either of these keys, so that it turn not rightly in the lock, he said to us, this entrance doth not open. More precious one is, but the other needs more art and intellect ere it unlock, for it is that which doth the knot unloose. From Peter I have them, and he bade me err, rather in opening than in keeping shut, if people but fall down before my feet. Next.
Then push the portals of the sacred door, exclaiming, "Enter, but I give you warning that forth returns whoever looks behind." And when upon their hinges were turned round the swivels of that consecrated gate, which are of metal massive and sonorous, roared not so loud, nor so discordant, Tarpeia, when was taken from it the good, when was taken from it the good Metellus, wherefore Magre it remained. At the first thunder peal I turned attentive, and Te Deum laudamus seemed to hear the voices mingled with sweet melody. exactly such an image rendered me that which I heard, as we are wont to catch when people singing with an organ stand. For now we hear, and now hear not the words.
Hmm.
The end.
The end. Delphine. Okay. Back. Okay, so first reader, once again, read a snippet of this canto and then stop when you are ready to discuss.
Okay. The concubine of old Tithonus now gleamed white upon the eastern balcony, forth from the arms of her sweet paramour. With gems her forehead all reluctant was, set in the shape of that cold animal, which with its tail doth smite amain the nations. And of the steps with which she mounts, the night had taken two in that place where we were, and now the third was bending down its wings, when I, who had something had of Adam in me, vanquished by sleep, upon the grass reclined. There are all five of us already sat. I'm going to stop.
So, yeah,
I'm just going to stop right there because there's a lot packed into those four
right.
verses there.
Mhm.
And I'm going to start with the concubine of old Tithonus now. That's an allusion. Sounds to me like we need our classics expert to weigh in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Aurora, right, goddess of the dawn, fell in love with Tithonus and requested eternal life for him so that she could be with him. But she forgot to ask for eternal youth. So the guy just got older and older and
Oh, no.
older. I think eventually he ends up metamorphosing into a grasshopper.
Yeah, that's what she already says. Yeah.
So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And now she hangs out with a grasshopper
Oh,
for
no.
eternity.
Yeah.
In many episodes or chapters of the Odyssey starts like this, and down comes on her rosy fingers.
Well, rosy fingered dawn. Yeah.
Anyhow, she already adds one detail. Despite his advanced years, however, Tithonus seems here to be philandering with the moon as his concubine, and the moon is rising.
No,
Can be the moon or the sun.
It says here the moon. I don't know.
It depends of the
The moon could be rising in the morning, depending upon the phase of the moon.
So,
okay, yeah, the concubine of old Tithonus now gleamed white.
But you know what? It says it is a bit after 8 p.m.
yes, it's the down by the moon because it's not the down by the sun. Yeah,
Right. So this is
because of the
evening.
hour.
It's not
Because of the
morning.
hour. Yeah,
No, this is morning.
it's early
Early
morning.
morning.
No, early.
Well,
early night.
according to Ciardi, Dante seems to be saying that the third hour of darkness is beginning. Thus, if sunset occurred at 6, it is now a bit after 8 p.m., and that is the aurora of the rising moon appearing
Yeah.
above the horizon.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's not the sun. Yeah, it's the moon.
Not morning.
Can I give you some notes of this written here? There has been some scholarly debate as to whether Dante is referring here to the dawn of the moon or the dawn of the sun.
Ah.
However, the reference to the constellation Scorpio indicates that the time is 9 p.m.
Huh.
Yeah.
How he
Okay.
figures that, I don't know.
And so is the dawn of the moon.
shape of that cold animal, that's what that refers to. With its tail doth smite amain the nations. That's a reference to. That's what I was going to ask. That must mean that that's referring to Scorpio or Scorpion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would
But
be.
if the constellation Scorpio is visible, it must be dark, which would make it 9 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
And then the third verse, now already where we were, the night had taken 2 steps upward.
Yeah. That seems to confirm it's nighttime.
Yeah.
So he's Dante is then laying down for sleep. So
I've got a note. Yeah, how does Dante get through the gate of purgatory? One answer is through dreaming. Night falls at the beginning of Purgatory 9, and Dante sleeps.
Hmm.
So he dreams that he is wrapped by an eagle that carries him up, as Ganymede was carried by Jove. I mean, this is probably going way off piste, but anyway, that's what it says.
Yeah.
But it's here says, and the steps with which she mounts the night had taken 2 in that place where we were. And now the third is bending down in wings. It was it between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That was fast. From
Yeah,
9 o'clock.
but he had
And then
some.
I guess it's 2 steps upward from 9 o'clock.
But he still had some dreams. So the time passed by now.
And it says where the 5 of
Picture.
us, we 5 were seated.
So we know it's Dante and Virgil and
And who's the other 3?
Sordello, the
Sordello.
judge, and there was the
Nino.
Oh, from the
Corrado
gallery.
Malaspina.
Who are the 5 people?
Well, the ones he was with, there was Judge Nino, Sordello, Corrado Malaspina, who introduced himself at the last part of Canto, Virgil and Dante.
Oh, John, I see. They're at the gate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're in the valley that leads to the game. That leads to the game, right?
Yeah.
That's where they fall asleep. Dean. So the swallow is a pre-dawn bird.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should read the next
Uh,
verses. So
where did you stop? Where did you stop, John? Please.
at the end of that's 12. Or I mean, no, yeah, 12, yeah.
Well, they were all 5 of us already said. Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so I'll start now. Just at the hour when her sad lay begins, the little swallow, nearing unto the morning, perchance in memory of her former woes. And when the mind of man, a wanderer, more from the flesh and less by thought imprisoned, almost prophetic in its vision is. In dreams, it seemed to me I saw superseded suspended, an eagle in the sky, with plumes of gold, with wings wide open and intent to stoop. And this, it seemed to me, was where had been by Ganymede his kith and kin abandoned, when to the high consistory he was wrapped. I thought within myself, perchance he strikes from habit only here, and from elsewhere disdains to bear up any in his feet. Then wheeling somewhat more, it seemed to me, terrible as the lightning, he descended and snatched me upward even to the fire. Okay. Therein it seemed that he and I were burning, and the imagined fire did scorch me so that of necessity my sleep was broken. Did I stop there?
Sure. That's
Okay,
fine.
Marcus. No.
Well, I was going to say that just like reading on this, I see just beyond in a way. I think it's a good place to stop, but only I think in some ways that I think what you just read, Anne, or what Anne just read, sort of is there's a reference there to somebody who's not made, and I think that he's referring to Dante is referring to Achilles started up around him turning because he's referring to this person. And when the mind of man, a wanderer more from the flesh and less by thought and prison, almost prophetic in its vision is. So he's almost talking about some third person, some mind of some man who is
Which verses are you talking about, John?
well, the ones that Anne just read here. So he refers to, he starts with the little swallow near unto the morning. Perchance in memory of reform, so and so forth. And when the mind of man, a wanderer more from the flesh and less by thought and prison, almost then he like these are qualifications of this, of his those verses there. Almost
There's a note about this here.
he kind of is getting in a roundabout way to talking about somebody who's kind of coming, he's not introduced, kind of like who this man is, whose vision.
I think it's man in general.
You think it is? See,
I think it's man in general. It's a comment about dreams. So when the mind, let me change it a little bit. And when the mind of a person, a wanderer more from the flesh, when you're asleep, the flesh is less important, and less by thought imprisoned. So when you fall asleep, you're not as trapped by flesh or by thought. And so visions, prophetic visions, almost prophetic visions come.
So he's kind of talking here with like a person or man, kind of in a general sense. And then like,
yeah, of which he is an example.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then he says, when to the high consistory he was wrapped, he's talking about this, general image of man or himself as an example of that.
Yeah, he's a particular of the general category called
Okay.
man.
The translation is causing confusion because all the Italian says is la mente nostra, our mind. Our mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been clear if Longfellow had gone that.
Yeah. Our minds. Yeah.
Are you interested in the Achilles image?
Well, I guess if it's not enough, it's going to be more confusing because I think it seems I was confused because of the way this is all translated by Longfellow into English. And he says, and this, it seemed to me, was where had been, this was where had been abandoned. That's confusing. By Ganymede, his kith and kin abandoned. And by when sister, he was wrapped. I mean, it's like rather than, he, I guess in general, was that person, that or man, the man, in this case, me. But then he refers now again to this eagle in the sky. I thought within myself, perchance he strikes from habit only here and from elsewhere disdains to bear up any in his feet. So he's now also referring to the eagle as a he. So is the eagle symbolic of of man, or is man
Well,
kind of
this one,
flight
this
of
one
dream?
this one sentence might clarify that to some extent.
Okay, all right.
Thus, Achilles, like Dante, was borne off in his sleep and awoke to find himself in a strange place.
Oh, okay. Well, that does clarify a bit, I suppose. He's
Yeah,
comparing himself to Achilles in some dream to a dream that Achilles had, a classical illusion again.
it's like an image that
Yeah,
people would have, literate people would have
sure.
And
known.
in my notes, and I can't give you the reference, this dream sequence weaves together mythological figures like Ganymede in Purgatory 9:23 and Achilles in Purgatory with echoes of 2 Corinthians 12:1-4, where St. Paul recounts being caught up into paradise. Who are the experts on this?
Well, I think it's in Second Corinthians. Paul recounts how he says he knew a man who had been taken up to the third heaven. Is how I've read it in my Bible. It's an English translation, and who was experienced unspeakable. He saw and experienced unspeakable things. And he says, and he used this, but I don't do this to brag because. And Paul recounts how God left him with a thorn, and nobody's knows what that thorn is. But he says this is the part. It ends in a very famous is that God has told him that in your weakness my power is made perfect. So it's that part of Corinthians, Second Corinthians.
In your weakness, my power is made perfect.
Yeah.
That would certainly be applicable to the sleep thing and the idea that when you're
Mm.
asleep and your body and your mind is not interfering,
Right.
then prophetic dreams or symbolic dreams can come. I'm really interested in this little switch here between line 12 and line 13,
Okay.
which basically covers 9 hours of sleep.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He's falling asleep. So in verse 10, when I, who had something of Adam in me, mainly I was flesh and
Mm.
weak, vanquished by sleep upon the grass reclined, there were all five of us. There were all five of us. That should be there. Where I would think that would
Mhm.
be where.
For 5%
Where
already
all
said.
five of us had already sat. And then 13, just at the hour when her sad lay begins, the little swallow near unto the morning. So it's like the hours of sleep just went.
Here is a part of mythology. The metamorphosis of Ovid is related to Philomela and Procre. They were transformed into a nightingale and another bird I don't know in English. It's the metamorphosis of Ovid. This is used also in a play by Shakespeare, Titus Andronicus. Terrible play.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, it's almost too. I just really just think about it that he starts with a little swallow, and then there's another bird, an eagle, that comes in. It's almost maybe there's a subtle transformation there too. One bird to another.
Yeah, yeah. And kind of a sloppy thing that I'm doing is that the swallow is actually the first peak of the sun,
Oh, okay.
First light, yeah.
first light, which is very gentle
Mm.
and almost imperceptible. But
Mhm.
very soon, and the eagle is kind of when the sun has risen, and
Oh,
he's
sure.
asleep. And
Yeah.
I think he's asleep in a way that his face is towards the direction that the sun is coming from.
Yeah.
And so the first light kind of, this feels very gentle and small and all that. But within an hour and a half or so, he's got the full rising sun blasting him. And that feels like an eagle.
Yeah. Yeah. The gold plumes. Yeah. That makes sense.
Hmm.
I saw suspended an eagle in the sky with plumes of gold, with wings wide open and intent to stoop. And then can someone explain the Gandymead?
Yeah, according to Multibaum, the eagle represents Jupiter
Okay.
and God, yes. And Jupiter, in the form of an eagle, seized the beautiful youth Ganymede from a mountain near Troy and bore him away to Olympus, the home of the gods. This eagle that Dante sees takes Dante upwards, this is going to happen later, to burn in the spear of fire between the earth and the moon, line 30. Symbolically, the dream defines Dante's journey through purgatory as an ascent through refining fire to renewed love, and like Ganymede to heaven. Later, it emerges that the dream was caused by a parallel external reality. While Dante dreamt of being borne upward, Lucia is actually carrying him up the mountain.
Oh.
So from that I gather that it's what happened at the time and what's going to happen to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I find this simile a little bit. But sometimes I feel like Dante just wants to show off his learning. Because if you think it through, Jupiter didn't lift Ganymede up to heaven. He lifted up this pretty little boy for him to enjoy. The word catamite derives from Ganymede.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
He was so nice,
It's
Ganymede.
not just innocent here. It's kind of a disturbing
Yeah.
image. But
Okay.
He
I mean,
was, he was
if
so
you carry
nice.
it further,
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway.
I'm taking it all very physically though. I mean, to
Mhm.
me, this is literally the sun rising and then shining in the face with heat and light until he wakes up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Dante's point is just the physical sensation of it. But I I think he could have chosen another image that didn't
Well,
have these
Charity
other
really,
implications.
Charity disagrees with you. May I read the note?
Sure.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay. The fact that Dante himself is about to begin the ascent of purgatory proper, and hence to heaven, inevitably suggests an allegory of the soul in the history of Ganymede. God calls to himself what is most beautiful in man. The fact that Dante always thought of the Trojans as an especially chosen people is also relevant. And then he cites Inferno. Ganymede was the son of the founder of Troy. Troy, in Dante's Virgilian view, founded Rome, and through the Church of Rome, men's souls were enabled to mount to heaven.
Hmm.
That's why
Maybe
Giardi,
none of
well,
that's necessarily untrue, but it's a completely ignoring the reason Jupiter uh, kidnapped Ganymede.
he kidnapped them for the gods' enjoyment.
He kidnapped him for his own enjoyment.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Dante didn't know that story. Is it possible?
Uh, I, I think he just wasn't thinking of it.
Okay.
There's a note here, the Canto 9. The canto is also marked at every point by ambiguities and unresolved meanings, reflecting its character as a transitional sequence.
Very good.
Interpretations in the sequence are still in the process of being discovered.
Okay, that's good. That's
Uh,
good. Because they are at the gates of purgatory. And they are in the vision, he is going to have the seven P's carved in his forehead, which are an obvious external sign that he is impure, spiritually speaking. And of course, the purpose of purgatory is to be purged.
Mm-hmm.
And so ambiguity seems like it would be a reasonable thing to be happening.
Certainly unresolved meanings.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't come to that yet.
Dante believed the church was the answer to human sin, even though the church was flawed.
Well,
So,
that's really interesting you say that, Dee Dee, because to me, and this is actually based upon the readings in Paradiso, the eagle, I've got the eagle associated with politics, with Caesar
right.
and other powerful political leaders.
Yes, well, it was a church with a good leader, a good ruler, a non-spiritual um, kind of political ruler combination. It
Yeah,
wasn't the
I think that,
church as
yeah.
the political um, um, power. It
Well,
was not, yeah,
since I have read Paradiso, though not completely understanding it, the basic image that I have is that Dante says that the church can only be the spiritual leader when there is a secular power that can protect the church. So the church leaders do not have to, so the church leaders are not involved directly in politics.
right.
Well, Dante was a Guelph, and they were um, very much put out by the behavior of the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
And a 58.
yeah. He put Benedict the Eighth in level 9 in the Inferno with the devil. So,
Right.
and Benedict was still alive, right? Wasn't that the Pope who hadn't even gotten there yet?
Yeah.
That's the same one,
Yeah.
yes.
He was very angry at the corruption in the church.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the current day argument. Now we got a pretty nice pope right now, I think. But
Yeah.
but the current argument during the whole pedophile scandal in the church, the church kept on insisting that the priest could not be prosecuted by secular law.
Yeah, that,
And
that is canon law. That is stated in canon law.
right, well, but I would contend that from the Dantean point of view, that is a corruption in the church.
Yes.
That is only when the members of the church are subject to secular law that we can depend upon the church being more free from corruption. Anyway, that's my
Yes.
layman's
It,
interpretation
it,
of
it
all
is
that.
the equivalent of the church saying, I'm right because I say I'm right.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I'm right because I'm pure, and how dare you question me about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is the Pam Bondi defense.
I think one, this, there'll be exceptions to this, but broadly speaking, uh, in Dante's world, you could see corruption in the church, but it didn't, in his mind, weaken the eternal truths of
Yes.
religion.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's a tendency now, if practitioners are flawed, many people then use that uh, as a reason to doubt
Everything.
to doubt the existence of God even or
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well
Mm-hmm.
put, John. Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is where politics interfered with theology.
Hmm.
The theology remained constant
Yeah.
for Dante at that time. It
Hmm.
was constant, but politics, something else altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wonder how many people though uh, would make could even in Dante's time make that distinction. I suspect there's probably maybe as much going around then of maybe even among in the medieval people of that time of cynicism about religion, because when they see when they see the supposedly the religious leaders and teachers behaving in the way that they often did, I would not be surprised if many people were simply driven to at least private, cynicism and doubt, rather than and not make the distinction between eternal truths and practice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's but certainly in the Decameron we get
Well,
pretty
one
fair
case in
amount of
point,
that irony.
case in point, yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's the story about the man who I think he's from France or it doesn't matter, has a Jewish friend, and he brings him to Rome in the hopes of converting him. And they see the corruption of the church. And when they go back and his Jewish friend converts to Christianity because he says, if this faith can withstand the corruption, then it must really be the true faith. So he turns the whole thing around.
That's good.
The,
Almost sounds
the,
like, yeah.
the conflict between the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, the Ghibellines supported their Holy Roman Emperor, who was neither holy nor Roman. But what came out was that the men of those times, particularly Dante's set, within literature and art, they were, if you like, the forerunners of the entire Renaissance that came in about 50 years later.
Mhm. Mm.
It was a change in thinking of self-expression, of trying to express things in a different way. It started with Dante and his cohorts.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
But in the Renaissance, if correct me if I am wrong, which I could very easily be wrong. I mean, the Renaissance was to a great extent the rejection of the church.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
And the swift the moving the moral balance from God to the concept of good people.
One of the big changes it brought out was within the astronomy angle of the existence being geocentric as versus to solar centric.
Copernicus, yeah.
You know, way back in the Greeks, they had the wandering stars, the stars that were not fixed. Their name for them was planets. And it was in the 15th, 16th century that coming up to Vico's time, Bruno's time, that the change of understanding of man's position in existence really was changing. And the introduction of a scientific approach really manufactured a serious problem for the church.
You know,
Very
hmm,
being the church being so powerful, so in such control and domination. Times changed. They had to change. Same as now, times are changing and they have to change.
I would contend, at least tentatively, that the interpretation of the meaning of the spiritual and political meaning of the change from a geocentric world to a solar centric world had to do with the already established cynical attitude towards the spiritual leaders of the time. In other words, Galileo did not necessarily have to completely rock the whole world of the Catholic Church. That the reason why he ended up rocking the world of the Catholic Church was because of the church's resistance to it, because the church already felt kind of weak. And instead of making the necessary changes to align with the quote scientific facts, they fought against it, and that made the church even weaker and less relevant. But it
Yeah,
didn't have
totally
to.
agree. Yeah, totally agree with that. Yes. Yeah.
So
Very good points, yeah.
but the earlier point, I forget who made it, the earlier point I thought was actually quite brilliant. The earlier point that the little story about the Jew who went
Mhm.
and saw the
Yeah,
corruption in
yeah,
the church
yeah.
and went back and converted because he said if the doctrine can withstand that sort of corruption, there must be something to it. That's a really good little story.
Yeah.
And I think it's true that it's the reaction to whatever new development there is that gives us the that provides us with an ability to understand the political and the cultural thing. I don't think I'm being very coherent. Excuse me, I'm not quite sure how to say this,
Well,
but
I guess I'm not sure I can help in that way, but I do think that our concepts of political and theological and so forth are pretty modern in a lot of ways. And I struggle even today with how people define political today is often pretty subjective. I mean, what is
Ooh.
I wouldn't have thought, 10 years ago, nobody would have said, well, the Supreme Court of the United States, that's a political thing. But today it's been very political and very politicized. And I can imagine, I mean, and people then can argue about that stuff. Maybe not directly, but it becomes open to these kinds of sliding and very fluid interpretations about, well, how, and it becomes meaningless in some ways to make a distinction on that basis. And I would imagine that somebody who was living, like, if you can find an average person or something, some villain or, some serf or somebody, it didn't make a whole lot of difference to somebody in that time, the average everyday person, because, the powers that be around them, that didn't change much. And for all they knew, they never heard about Galileo or any of these things. These were all things that we now know that became known to us over the course of history through and represent sort of critical critical inflection points in the course of history that seem to mark a change in the way people thought. But I mean, which people? Uh, the powers that be certainly over some period of time that changed, and that opened the door for other people to challenge. And pretty soon, that power that the Roman Church had over many people's lives eroded and gave way to the secular powers and the breakup of these different empires and these different the different feudalistic structure of all the Western Christendom. So, it's hard to really to use that as a way. It's a helpful kind of tool, I think, but we got to keep in mind that it's all pretty subjective and fluid.
Well, okay, so the average person, which is who you're referring to, if there's such a thing, to the average person, when a system collapses, it will always seem to them as sudden, because they do not know the earlier signs.
Right.
But
Yeah.
and the whole idea of a history, and I think to a certain extent the idea of history is correct, is to go in and find the earlier signs of where this corruption started.
No, it's right. Yeah.
As long as a culture from the top to the bottom has a pretty good agreement on some basic facts, things hold. So to take the current situation, what is disturbing about the current situation is that we have large groups of people who have decided that the legal system,
Yeah.
can be applied in a personalized way.
Yep.
You know, that some people cannot be prosecuted,
Right. Yeah.
and that we can ignore. There are groups of people in the United States now who think they can ignore the traditional political system, um, because they think they have a better idea. And that is usually early signs of collapse,
Mm-hmm.
because once you start fooling around with the system, and if you do not have an overall governing body, which is what the Supreme Court and the legal system is supposed to be,
Supposed to. Yeah.
but once that judicial system becomes um, kind of legal system free, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and then instead of using the legal system and precedents to establish decisions, you just kind of manipulate things to come up with your own rationale for
Yeah.
how you want things to be.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, once I see you doing that, you know, at a certain point, it's very likely that I'm going to start doing that, and that's the unraveling there. So anyway. We're a long way from Dante waking up with the sun shining in his face.
Did we read the this verse that in my book starts at line 25?
Yeah, I finish in line 33, Didi.
Yeah, so what is the meaning of that verse? I
No,
thought to myself, perhaps his habit is. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. 'To strike at this one spot, perhaps he scorns. ' to take his prey from any place but this.
What lines are you reading, Didi?
It starts with 25.
25 to 28.
Ah,
I assume he's referring to the eagle.
so then I suppose he strikes heaven only here and from elsewhere.
We
So
started to talk a little bit about that, yeah.
he takes his prey from the entrance to purgatory.
So the striking entity is the eagle?
Seems to be.
Seems to be, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
then
is, yeah.
so perchance the eagle strikes from habit only here, and from elsewhere disdains to bear up any in his feet. That to me is another sign that he's talking about the sun.
But it isn't the eagle whose habit it is. It's Jupiter, who also Dante called Jove and also called God Jove in Canto 8, which I thought was interesting. He means not he isn't the eagle. He is Jupiter, I
That's
think.
an interpretation you're giving to it, which might be fine, but I'm still stuck with the he is the sun.
Well, he was dreaming about this thing about the ego. So,
Yeah.
and when the ego took him to the fire, he wake up. So it's just a dream. He woke up.
It's like the moment of awakening.
No, he woke up because he was in a kind of wake, you know, in a kind of, we say pesadelo, I don't know the
But
word.
the ego strikes
Well,
right when it's
the
time to wake up.
yeah, the eagle is an interpretation that Dante is giving to that's the eagle is a dream interpretation that Dante is giving to the sensation of the sun increasingly striking his face while
But
he's
he was burning, and so he had a nightmare. And he had a
It,
nightmare,
it's
and
his
so he woke.
dream.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
had a nightmare, and so he woke up. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think this is Barolini. You know, when you're trying to read it on Kindle, the dream in Purgatory 9 is a way of communicating the nature of visionary experience within the vision that is the commedia. It is a vision within a vision. It is the first of three dreams in Purgatorio, which occur at moments of transition. So he's going into purgatory. Dream one in Purgatory 9 is where the pilgrim transitions into purgatory proper. And dream 2 is where and this is in Purgatory 19, is where the pilgrim transitions from the lower four terraces of purgatory to the upper three terraces. And in dream 327, where the pilgrim leaves the terraces behind and transitions to earthly paradise.
So it's like a poetic strategy that using the dreams.
Yeah, to start from the anti-purgatorio to the purgatorio by a dream, nightmare. And so when he woke up, he was in the door of the
Yeah.
purgatorio.
Purgatory.
right.
Interesting.
When he actually wakes up, he's looking at the portal
Yeah.
into purgatory, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad you found that note, Sylvia.
I think it's Barolini.
It sounds like what she's talking about in the book I read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here this is quoting actually from Berolini. It says, "How does Dante get to the gate of purgatory? One answer is through dreaming. Night falls at the beginning of Purgatory 9, and Dante sleeps. He dreams that he is wrapped by an eagle that carries him up as Ganymede was carried by Jove. This dream sequence weaves together mythological figures like Ganymede and Achilles with echoes of the Second Corinthians chapter 12, lines 1 through 4, where St. Paul recounts being caught up into paradise. Dante has established St. Paul as a model for himself in Inferno 2, when he worries that the journey is not for him, since after all, he's not Aeneas and not Paul. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
Here has a note on lines 25 through to 33. He says, Geoffrey Chaucer wrote a comic pastiche of this episode in his The House of Fame. And he goes on, though Dante already, with his force, presents a momentarily comic picture as he attempts to convince himself that the eagle is here simply as a matter of routine and not to seek him out.
Okay.
He would strike any one entering purgatory, not just Dante.
Whoever arrives there, he's going to pick him up and carry him.
Right.
Whoever it is. Well, that's what
yeah.
He said Dante is attempts to convince himself of that.
Well, he just happened to be at the place where when you're sleeping, the rising sun will strike your face.
Yes. Yeah.
But of course, that is actually the whole idea of there being a spiritual path. The idea being that if you behave in certain ways and you do certain things, that there will appear to you signs of what the next steps will be. So in this case, Dante has been following Virgil and the advice of others, and that is what has brought him to the particular place where he sleeps that night. And where in the morning the sun does strike his face. And I think I'm correct in saying the sun striking his face there shows him where the portal is into purgatory proper. Or am I just out of my head?
No. It's a damn sight better explanation than anything I would give on it.
On another level here, the eagle is Lucia, divine light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening at the same time, yeah.
It's at the same time. And it's the same. I would insist it's the same sensation.
So he's given
interpreted by Dante in two different ways.
And in the story of Ganymede, Ganymede's carried by the eagle, Jove's eagle. Dante by Lucia. Dante laboring for grace.
Right.
He's on the spiritual path.
And if I may, I mean, the idea of Ganymede, the beautiful youth, being penetrated by Jupiter, you know, it can be given almost a pedophilic interpretation, but it can also just mean that the sun is enjoying shining and illuminating a beautiful youth.
Well, you can't trust Jupiter, you know.
Lucia.
Well, Lucia is also Lucia is just light
Mm.
personified.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm having fun. I'm having fun thinking of this in very mundane fashion.
You know, I've been reading the London Review of Books for a very long time now. I'll have to bring it with me next time. The reviews, the articles, the discussions really are about what we're talking about reading this commedia. Very well informed, very worth learning from.
Are you talking about your general experience with the London Review of Books, or?
Yeah, mostly really important reading. It's my only periodical. I don't have time for much else. I'm a plain dealer every morning. Poor, pitiful thing.
Mhm.
If they were the article I read, it was about the Renaissance. I'll have to bring it next time. It's about a writer named a public figure named Pico. Does that sound
Oh,
familiar?
yeah, Pico de
Mirandola, something like that.
Mirandola.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
Very interesting, very surreal in the like in the realm of surrealism, fantasy.
So,
In
in your
his
subscription to the London Review of Books, do they also provide you with a digital?
yes,
And can you copy things from that?
yes.
Oh,
You're
okay.
interested in that article?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
find it for you.
If you can copy
I
at least
will.
what you consider the important parts of it and send it to me, I would be
Well,
very
I can just send you the whole article. I'm not gonna,
okay. Okay,
but I
okay.
will send it. Yeah.
But I mean, Dee to my way of thinking, you bring up a very important point that particularly in this period of history with so much confusion and argumentation, that if one is able to find a publication or a writer who seems very grounded and has a very clear vision of what's going on, that is our Virgil, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah, there are several Virgils. They have amazing writers, unbelievable,
Oh, good.
informed and writing ability.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay, so where are we starting next time?
Well, I read to line 33.
And
Have you covered all that?
have we
Yeah,
covered all that? Are we
I
satisfied?
guess so, because that's where he's comparing being lifted up.
Yeah.
yeah, I think.
So next time we would start on 34.
Yeah, not otherwise Achilles started up.
Okay. All right. Very good. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you
I like
all very
Okay.
much. Enjoyed
Thank
the
you
evening.
very much.
Thank you,
Indeed.
everybody.
Thanks
Next
to
week.
all.
Toodaloo.
Thank you.
Sylvia, what part of the world are you in today?
Oh, Florence.
You're in
Uh-huh.
Florence. Okay. All right.
Yeah, just arrived yesterday. I was
Oh,
at a lecture on Machiavelli this evening.
oh,
The guy went on and on for an hour and a half, and he was only supposed to be 45 minutes. That's why I was late. I can't remember his name now, but yeah. So my head is buzzing.
there you go. Okay.
Anyway,
Well,
see.
enjoy yourself, and we'll see you